If you find a way to rest, take time out, step back, whatever that looks like, even if it's a couple of seconds over a cup of coffee, that is enough to help you to reset and re-energize. Losing your job is a moment for you because it gives you a break, whether you want it or not. The gift you never wanted, that's how I describe it.
Hello and welcome to Hello Moxie. Today I am joined by Eleanor Tweddell. Eleanor and I met in our sidebar community group over a year ago, and she immediately I just adored her. I remember the first session, maybe the second session we had together. She brought her massive coaching skills to the table because this is sidebar group is a mastermind where we all get to coach each other through difficult entrepreneurial questions that we're all dealing with. And I was in the middle of a very big pivot. And I remember having a session with her and she just asked me such great, insightful questions that gave me the courage to take some really big steps. And I remember I was so verklempt in that conversation. She had me in tears just because I felt like she had really helped me tap into and be congruent with what it was that I wanted to be moving into. So that is Eleanor. She's a rock star, superstar. And I'm so excited to have her on the show today. Eleanor, how are you?
Wow. Well, after that intro, I feel 100% better. You never hear nice things about yourself, do you? And then when you hear them, we're always like, whoa, who is she talking about? Yeah, that was nice. That's nice to know. I didn't know that happened because it was a very, we were always sharing a lot in our sidebar group. It was a sharey group, wasn't it? So
it was a sharey group. Yeah. And you were a huge part of that. But yeah, you did. You really impacted me in such a big way. I always looked forward to your insights and the questions you were going to ask. You have great coaching questions. So it was fantastic. God,
I'm so glad I didn't know that because the pressure. I'm glad you
now we can laugh about it, right? Yeah. Now we can laugh about it. Oh, man. Well, I would love for you to tell listeners a little bit about you. You live in the beautiful Lake District, which I have yet to go to. It's on my bucket list.
Please come, and let's go rambling, as we call it. Let's go hiking up in the hills in the Lake District. I live in the north of England, about an hour away from Manchester. Yes, in the hills. It's really beautiful today. It's sunny, but not usually it rains. So that's a kind of important factor that I've been born and bred here in a place that it rains. It's usually grey. You know, we have a sort of weird outlook on life. So I think that kind of informs a lot of this sort of, very straightforward thinking, calm yourself down. Let's not get carried away with life. That's the backdrop of Cumbrian life. However, I escaped and I went to London and when I was in my teens and then went and did corporate life like we all kind of do. I worked for all kinds of different brands in the UK, like Costa Coffee, which is kind of like a Starbucks. Actually, it's global now. It wasn't when I was working there. I sold beer for a while. My very first job was selling the internet. I don't know. Should I say that out loud? That ages me. But I literally cold called companies and tried to sell the internet.
That's crazy.
Which was on a CD called Pipex, and you could load it into your computer and you got access to the worldwide
like America Online. I remember those America Online CDs.
That's exactly it. Yeah. So that was my first job. Anyway. So in corporate land, I did comms mostly as well as sales. So sales and then communications, got into change. And then after 20 years, got made redundant and had that moment of maybe I should do something different. That's where it all started for me. That was about 8 years ago, sitting in an interview, which on paper should have been everything. Like it had all the tick boxes, like it was a promotion, it was great money. I really liked the guy. He asked that question, why do you want this job? And I just felt like saying, I don't really want it. I don't know. I just felt like I had to do it. Obviously didn't say that. But on the way home, I just thought, maybe I need to listen to this and do something different. And that's when I started my business, started consulting in change and communications, and then sort of broadened it out, started writing about change, being more curious about change, doing talks about change, coaching people, and you kind of follow that kind of breadcrumbs, and which is what I do today. Another Door Opens is all about very specifically the messiness of change and how we navigate it as individuals, whether at work or in our personal life.
I love that, what you shared about following the breadcrumbs. That's such a beautiful, freeing way to look at change. I would say, change is becoming so constant in our lives, and the pace of change is increasing so rapidly. And there is this uncertainty bias, right? Like anytime someone's faced with something new in the environment, the natural human response is to be resistant to it, right? Like it's just human nature. And so how can we embrace the messiness? And I think that invitation to follow breadcrumbs is just so wise and makes it easy and approachable for people.
Yeah, and it's the interesting thing about resistance, isn't it? There's that great book, Stephen Pressfield book, the art of the War of Art, and it's all about resistance. And when you're creating, resistance is going to show up because it does. We can't get rid of it. But in some of my work, what I realized is resistance is almost like a sign that something's important or you're ready, or it's like a pokey thing. So it's not actually a wall. I think resistance is actually like something that's kind of prodding you to think a bit differently about something. So if we change our relationship with resistance, then suddenly, things change. So we can't get rid of it. I don't think we can avoid it. It shows up all the time in all sorts of different ways. But we can have a different relationship with it.
I love that invitation. Instead of seeing it as this wall that you have to overcome, it's like, how can you hold its hand kind of a thing and walk together with it? Wow, I love that. It's so, and seeing the resistance as really helping you step forward. I speak about change management too in the e-commerce world. And the first phase of change I have is resistance. And in order to overcome it, you have to acknowledge that it's a normal part of the change process. Like resistance isn't bad. It's not a negative thing. It means that you're actually taking a step forward. And I think when people can see it that way, it like lets down all of the stress and anxiety, right? Like, oh, this is normal. This is just part of it. I'm moving forward and I can figure it out.
Yeah. And you can't get rid of it. I don't think you can get rid of it. The whole way through my work and my next book coming out's got kind of 5 steps to navigating change. But what I realized when I was doing the research, when I started mapping out, how people talk about change, oh my God, resistance shows up at every single step. Every time we take a new step, it shows up. So we can't get rid of it. So to, like what you say, to normalize it and just to kind of not be afraid of it, not think it's a thing that, is going to exhaust us. It's quite liberating.
When you were being interviewed in that job that you mentioned, and you realized in that moment you did not want this job, what was the resistance that you were facing at that time that kept you from really doing what it was that you wanted to do? And how did you kind of hold the hand of that resistance part of yourself and move forward with it?
Yeah. So I think it wasn't resistance at that point. What I was probably not understanding was that there's options and choice. So I'd been in corporate for 20 years and I mostly got headhunted to get jobs. I'd never had to think for myself or think, what do I want next? Or, I've never had to really do that. I always got approached. And suddenly when you get made redundant, it's all on you to decide. So your default, we're on autopilot for a lot longer than we ever think in life. That's another thing that I discovered in my research. Like, oh my God, the amount of things that we're on autopilot, we're just not really thinking. And we have to be, because otherwise, can you imagine, how many things we'd be thinking about? So we're on autopilot. So I actually just thought, oh, lost job, polish CV, get new job. And that's what most people do. because that's what we're kind of pre-programmed to think. This is who I am. This is what I do. This is what happens when I don't have this job. I get another job and it's the same. And so most people do that and it's fine. And we don't have something that kind of disrupts that or breaks it unless you come across somebody or something or have a moment that goes, yeah, but what if this is a moment for me? Or actually, I hated this. You're just sitting there thinking, oh my God, I hated what I was doing. What on earth am I don't want to do this again. And I think that's why losing your job is a moment for you, because it gives you a break, whether you want it or not. The gift you never wanted, that's how I describe it. It gives you that time to think. And some people just fill it with, pressing apply on LinkedIn for any job and every job, and just let's push through this and just get the next job and let's not think about this. Other people think, okay, I might need to rethink this. Maybe I lost my job because the job isn't actually required anymore. The job is redundant. My skill set is redundant. I'm going to have to rethink myself. So yeah, I think it was a little bit of autopilot that I was just doing what I thought I should do. And I never really thought, but what if I could do something else? I wasn't surrounded by people who were starting their own business or self-employed or anything like that. So I just didn't think it was a choice.
What was it that happened that opened you up to this being a choice for you?
Well, 8 years ago, good old Facebook algorithm randomly sent an advert my way for a thing called the Do Lectures, which it's global but UK based. And at the time, it's sort of like if you imagine like a hippie indie kind of a TED Talk vibe, it's that. David Hyatt is the founder. He kind of set up this kind of talks in his farmhouse in Wales. So it's quite rustic. And he was advertising a boot camp at the farmhouse. Come and get away. It's called Breakthrough. Discover yourself. And I just thought, I don't know what the heck this is, but I'm going to sign up to this. I don't know why or even what it is, but let's do it. And it was just one of those very weird things that I'm not sure that it could have been like a complete waste of time or money, but I just went for it and did it. So that was the moment I was like, well, what if this gives me alternatives? But I must say, when I got there, it's very funny. 50 other people in this kind of farm experience, talking about yourself and what you do and what you want and everything like that. But they were all really cool and it felt like they had cool businesses. They were all arty from the advertising world. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, I am like PowerPoint, dull spreadsheet person from the corporate world. That's how it felt. I've never felt so out of place in a shed, in a farm shed. And I'm from a farming background. So yeah, it was a weird moment. Well out of comfort zone, but I think sometimes we have to do that. In moments of change, don't stay comfortable. Do something completely random, out of comfort zone completely. If you don't get anything immediate from it, you just kind of discover stuff about yourself. So yeah, that's what happened.
Such a beautiful story. I have a dear friend who the other day, a couple of weeks ago, we were chatting and I was considering investing in this program and I was weighing it and I asked her, I was like, what do you think? What would you do? And she said something to me that has been sticking with me. She said, experimentation requires investment. And I thought that was so beautiful. And what you said just illustrates that, like, if you want to, first of all, it's important to experiment, especially in times of change or pivot, like you said. And when you do, you are like taking a risk. You are having to invest in yourself and do something new and different. But, that's the joy of experimenting, is just like what ifing it. Like, what if? Let's just try it. There's no, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We try something different. And I also love what you shared about how you felt like a fish out of water. I think that's so interesting too. Like anytime we're out of our comfort zone, there's like this feeling like we want to belong. We want to be part of the group, and I started this playwriting class myself 5 weeks ago. I haven't written a play since I was 11, right? Like I was just like, let's just try this. I want to be a better writer. I'm going to try taking this playwriting class. And I remember the first week we had to bring pages that we had written and cast our pages and have someone else read our scene out loud in the class. And it was so out of my comfort zone. I was like, oh my gosh. But it was so fucking fun. Like, I just loved hearing someone else reading it for the first time, my words still coming to life. And in that moment, it was such a confidence builder. I was like, oh, I'm doing this and it's hard and I've never done it before. And it just really is such a great way to build confidence and resilience and character. And so I second all of that. Like, did you ever feel over time as the time went on with that workshop that you did, that you felt like you belonged more the more you were there? Like, how did that belonging hit and land with you in that experience?
No, definitely not over 3 days. Still got worse. Got worse. Started meeting people and they were genuinely like, oh, I'm so cool. I run this sustainability thing in Africa. And I was just like, oh my God, I can't tell them I've just been made redundant from Vodafone. So yeah, it got worse. But what it did was there were a couple of people there that I really just liked listening to their stories. So I found a way that I didn't have to talk about me much and I could just listen to other people. And I found a way around that I thought, oh, this is brilliant. I'm just going to, you just ask a couple of people, oh, tell me about how to get into that. And they just started telling their story. So actually, I was sort of, I was finding my own way around that I got bored of myself going, oh, I just lost my job at corporate. That was so boring. So no, listen to others, create space for others. Everyone loves telling their story. So yeah, I met a lot of interesting people and I didn't have to declare my dullness to them.
Well, you are definitely not dull. So that's for sure. Yeah, it's so interesting. Like just being the sponge sometimes can just be the great, like if you're doing something new, that was very true for me when I did my public speaking class last year. I'd never, I knew of public speaking. I jump into this class and everyone in that room was like a superstar. I'm telling you, I walked in and I was just like terrified, but I just gave myself an invitation. Like you just said, what can I learn from these people? Yeah. What can I learn from them? What can they teach me? How can I just be the sponge? And so that's what I did. And I was like, you know what? It's enough for me to just be the sponge. That's good, and that's okay. Yeah. So I think that's a really great invitation for people too, who might be like, because it is uncomfortable to try something completely new, and give yourself grace and just let yourself listen and be the sponge. And that's enough.
It's the classic beginner's mindset. It's that kind of the Zen book about beginner mindset. It's an unfair advantage to be at the beginning if you recognize it that way. Whereas when, we've both got to senior levels in corporate life and we've been used to knowing answers and having our opinions heard and all of, this is us, this is who we are. And so to start something new feels incredibly uncomfortable because we think, oh my God, I know nothing. This is way out of comfort zone. But again, it's changed that relationship. If you think, hang on a minute, being a beginner is like, I only get one chance to be a beginner at this. So I can ask really stupid questions. I can ask really nosy questions of people that I think, oh, they're doing that. How did they do this? How did they do that? You get permission to do it. Because once they find out that, oh, you're setting up a business or you've got, no, it's different conversation. You're a peer then. Whereas in a beginner mindset, you have such an advantage. People open up, they share their wisdom. You're not a threat to them. So actually the minute the penny drops and you think, oh, I've got advantage here that, I'm starting, I know nothing. It suddenly changes the whole game for you.
So freeing. And you're right. People love to be helpful. So like people love to be, can you give me advice about this? Or how would you do this? Like people love playing that role. So yeah, it's a great way to just also build relationships with people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, think of all those speakers. You walked in the room, they're all competing with each other. You had such a massive advantage there of like, oh, look at me with my angel halo. I'm just starting out. Tell me all your secrets.
That's so true. Like, give me the gigs that you don't want kind of a situation, right? Like, yeah.
How did you get your first gig? Oh, I'd love to do that. Or you'll connect me to oh my God, thank you.
Yeah, totally. That's so what a wonderful, beautiful reframe too, to like reduce the anxiety of the whole situation and just see it as like it is. To be to have that beginner's mindset is just to be completely open-minded, and to just allow yourself. Oh, that's so cool. So, what have you noticed most? Okay, I'm so curious about this because, going from the corporate world to now owning your own business, huge change. And you've been doing it now for like 8 years. What have you noticed most that's shifted in you, that's shifted in your work, that's shifted in your relationships since you made that change and you're living it out now?
Hmm. The first thing I would say, the most noticeable thing, is probably stress, or the things that you get worried about, or the things that matter
Mm,
massively shift
mm,
because you have different driver. So in a corporate, you're going to get paid. That's done. So don't need to worry about that. So you almost start focusing on things like the small things. You sweat the small stuff in corporate. It matters about the PowerPoint, about the meeting, about the this, about the that, and you become actually quite insular. I don't think I realized how closed I was in a corporate environment. You become quite, you probably don't know you're doing it. I certainly, looking back, I thought, wow, I thought I was quite sort of free in my corporate thinking, but I probably wasn't. Of the things that you really getting absorbed in and the things that you're getting worried about and stressed about and getting burnt out about, which is the bad thing. You break free of all that, and suddenly you've got to now think about, how am I going to earn money? How am I going to pay bills? Like the real functional stuff. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you go right down to the bottom part.
mm,
And it helps focus on prioritization. And it helps you to start thinking, right, okay, I want to prioritize picking up my daughter from school. I've got to drop her off. I've got to do, like, these are sort of the non-negotiables. I've got to earn X amount every month to pay the bills. That's the bottom line. Okay, let's now rotate around that and get rid of anything that comes in the way that's actually kind of not serving it.
mm,
And so and it sounds more stressful, but it isn't, because now you have control and it kind of lifts you and it puts things in perspective. So it's a really weird moment of like, oh, I don't need to worry about the boss going on about that, or the politics, or this or that. You don't have to worry about any of that. You're almost going back to sort of survival priorities
mm,
in your terms. You've set them. It's your success story. But what
mm,
you're living, you're setting them. So it's less stress. So that's, for me, the biggest thing. I don't think I have been under, even when I haven't had work for long
mm,
periods of time, which happens, it's cycle, it doesn't,
mm,
you don't start your business and grow and then, oh, suddenly it all works out. You go up and down and round, endlessly. But even in moments, those stress levels have never come back that used to show up in corporate.
mm. I love that. It's because there's like you have so much autonomy. And I think that's one of the things as humans we want to be able to have autonomy over the choices that we make. And that is such a stress reducer. What would you recommend for people who are in corporate who to help them think more entrepreneurial and big picture like that in their roles so that they can kind of get out of this
Mm.
tunnel vision? Like for people that maybe they love being in corporate and that's their dream. They want to just, make it to that CMO position someday or that, CTO position. How do you help them kind of like think about taking a more of an entrepreneurial approach to their role?
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? Because I don't think that the answer is for everybody to
Mm,
go and start their own business. I just don't
yeah.
think that's what everybody needs to do, because it doesn't work like that. We all have different characteristics. And I was actually really enjoying my job that
Mm,
I was made redundant from. So, and there was a shift for me because I just had my baby and I went back to a new job and really was loving it.
mm,
And one of the shifts in that space was when I came back, after maternity. And in the UK, we have good maternity, to be honest.
You
but
do.
I came back a little bit earlier.
Man, that's a sore subject.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I can't even get my head around, US policy there. But
it's gotten better, but it used to be like nothing.
Yeah.
Like 3 months. And you don't even have to pay. So, yeah. They're like, yeah, you can go for 3 months unpaid and we'll just let you have your job back. That's how it used to be.
It's wild. It's wild when you think about that, isn't it? Completely mind-blowing. But the UK is good, actually, in most areas. In the company that I was in, they had just kind of gone all in on this incredible policy that you came back, but you came back only 4 days, but you got paid 5 days. And
very nice.
You had it was just off the scale. So I came back and I got a different role that was more suited to what I wanted to do, which was leave on time. And I just said that to them. I was like, well, I want a job because comms roles, you don't leave ever. It's 24/7, which is what I was head of comms. And so I was like, no, I want a job that I'm left, I'm done. So they gave me this job and I loved it. And what I realized was, wow, I just didn't realize that actually I could just, again, it's similar to the sort of shift from corporate interference. If you focus, what's the bare basics I have to do a really good job? Focus on that. What are the bits that I really enjoy that are going to make me kind of enjoy this job? Focus on that. Get rid of all the stuff around. Done. So I no longer cared, like, if there was politics going on. No, not interested. I'd dip in, dip out, see you later. If there was someone having a drama about, no, not interested. Get to the okay, what do you want me to do? Cool. Like, I was kind of fluttering above where you would usually sink into it and take it all personally and have the fight and have the drama. I just didn't bring that back to me. I knew I was coming back as a different person with a different identity. And so it really helped me. I just didn't think I'm going to pick up old me before I had my baby and that's who's coming back. I didn't think that. I thought, no, I'm a new person now. I've got different things that's going to be my priority and this is the way it's going to go. So again, I feel like that really helped. But my advice for people sitting in corporate, and you don't have to leave, but you have to have a moment of having a different relationship with yourself as a corporate person, like change the identity of you or who you think you are in that corporate space. So similar to what I said, I didn't need to have a baby for that moment. I could have just had a holiday and come back and gone, okay, I'm coming back as a different time. Yeah, I'm coming back as a different person. I don't want any of this anymore. I want this to work differently. I still know how to do my job because that's what I do, is my expertise. I'm just going to do it differently. And I'm going to get upset about maybe this thing rather than all the things. And this is how it's going to work. And I am going to finish at this time and shut down. And you won't hear from me. And it's sort of like just taking that ownership. And it is possible. We think it's not. And we think it's nonsense. And maybe there is bosses that kind of, don't like that. But the majority of us, I think, have more agency than we think.
You hit the nail on the head. I love that intentionality of like deciding what is it, my goals or my outcomes, or what does it take for me to be successful, and focusing in on that. And then what do I need to be doing that's going to bring me joy and make me happiness, and setting those boundaries. So takes back, like you said, the ownership. I remember after I had my second child, I was approached by a previous employer after she was a year old, and they're like, will you come back and work for us? And I was like, oh, I would love to, but I don't want to work full time right now. And they're like, well, this is a full-time position. And I don't know how I had it in me, but I got them to negotiate, or I negotiated with them to let me work 32 hours a week and told them, hey, look, I can do it if I can work these hours. And they said yes. And it worked out beautifully. And I worked that job for many, many years. I think sometimes you have to know what it is exactly that's going to be success for you and what's going to make you happy, and ask for it. All they can do is say no.
Yeah.
And if you're committed and passionate and they see that, then they'll make it happen.
Yeah. I mean, if you're an expert in what you do and somebody's approached you, or you've been doing it for a while and you're just, they know you.
Yeah.
it's quite a big call to get rid of somebody. It's got an effort. Oh my God, to try and recruit someone, to do their interviews, to bring someone on board, to get them up and running. It's quite a big call to say no to a small ask to, so you have to remember that's the thing. You've probably got more agency, even in this climate where the market's a little bit odd at the moment. There's still, effort in recruitment. And I always think, got to remember that you're probably worth more than you realize.
Yeah, that's true. And also, like, the people around you are watching and seeing that. And so when you take those steps to truly take ownership, other people can see what's possible for them.
Mm-hmm.
And it changes the mindset around work because, like, truthfully, I believe the 9 to 5 is antiquated, it came from the Industrial Revolution by men, right? Like, why? Why do we have to work 9 to 5? I mean, some jobs I see that makes sense, obviously, but like, why can't we just ask the question why about it and try to get more creative about how we work and when we work and the way we work?
Yeah. It's that, that big rethink. And it feels like it's what we all know is needed, and it is what's going to happen. We've probably done that thing in change. I think that change takes momentum and it all starts to be, oh yeah, of course we would. Of course we have that. Oh yeah, we need to rethink this. But then what happens is people who are in power that start thinking, whoa, hang on a minute. I'm uncertain about this. I quite like the old way. They kind of pull back and the drawbridge goes back up for a little bit because they think, whoa, hang on a minute. I'm under threat. But then what happens, as history shows, the drawbridge is just a drawbridge. It's not how it's going to be. It comes down because they pulled the drawbridge up because they personally were under threat, but everybody else is now around going, well, wait a minute, this can be different. And I feel like the surge has gone back to a degree, but that was because people felt threatened. They hadn't done the work in change, and change was so much for them they couldn't handle it. That's fine. But it doesn't mean that's over. It's coming back, and everybody else is kind of getting time to understand, oh, okay, yeah, work can be different. And of course it's going to be different. We've got AI now. We've got all sorts of things coming in, which of course it's going to change how we think and how we do work and how we earn money and the economy and everything. So of course it's going to change. Yeah.
And it's going to change faster than ever, Eleanor, which is why your latest book is so important. Tell us about your latest book. I want to hear about it.
So
you've been talking about it. What am I talking about? We've been talking about the whole show.
That's all I talk about now. I'm so fun in the pub. It's just all I talk about.
Oh man, what's it like? I got to know though. What's it like writing a book? I haven't written one. I want to write one. What's that process like? Like, if you could describe the process of writing a book in one word.
Oh, one word. One word of writing a book. Liberating.
Ooh.
Is probably the one word. Liberating for me because I'm corporate comms. So I've spent 15 years being super focused on the right word, nailing, the leadership message. Every little piece has to be kind of scrutinized, signed off, edited, it's very tense. And I could do it well. I can kind of write leadership stuff forever. But suddenly you're in a space when I left corporate life and I started writing a blog, which was called Another Door. And I just thought, oh, no one's editing this. No one's saying, oh, you used the wrong word. Oh, I don't like that word. Oh, that's wrong. I just free wrote it. So it was liberating. I could just write any old crap and not care. And then when I thought, hang on a minute, this could be a book. The first book was about redundancy. And somebody just said, oh, you should write a manual about how to be made redundant. And that's where it came from. So my blog was about that. I got a book coach. And the very first thing that she said was, can you just write the shittiest draft possible? Like, I don't want you to edit. I want to see red squiggly lines underneath it. I want it to make no sense. I just need like a 4 or 5 pages of nonsense of whatever is going on. And then that's where we start. So the first very, very shitty draft was where it all started. And that made me think completely differently about writing. And that's why it was liberating. It was completely like my skill set is corporate writing. And yet there was no way a corporate writer could ever write a book to a degree. Or you can, but through corporate lens. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to write it more through a consumer lens. So you had to let go of a lot of things and unlearn a lot of things that perhaps I had taught myself in a corporate environment.
I love that. Liberating. And write the shittiest draft ever. It's like, so that is liberating because it reduces the pressure, I think, so much that we feel as women that it's got to be perfect in order for it to be good enough, quote unquote, good enough to publish or whatever. It's the same thing in my playwriting class. I remember the first day of class, my instructor, she said, you don't need an outline. You don't need to know the end before the beginning. She's like, just start writing your one character and just let them speak to you and just take it as it comes, right? So freeing. It reduces all the pressure of having to have it all figured out. And it goes back to what you shared earlier about the breadcrumbs, right?
Yeah.
When you're in change, just follow one breadcrumb after the next instead of thinking like, oh my gosh, I've got to have the next 5 years planned out. I've been made redundant. What's my 5-year plan look like now? Just what is the first next immediate breadcrumb that you can move towards is so cool.
Yeah. And I think that we kind of struggle with that concept because people feel like it's a privilege. Like I got a lot of flack. My first book, the Why Losing Your Job Could Be the Best Thing That Ever Happened to You, it came out in 2020 lockdown.
Oh, yeah.
That was pre-planned.
Yeah.
Because it was a publishing deal that it was pre-planned. That wasn't meant to be that. So it's very difficult to talk about that because everybody was losing their job. And I'm saying, oh, it's the best thing that happened to you. And I used to get quite a bit of stick that, well, that's very privileged that you can, follow breakup. But it's not coming from that space at all because I'm not in that space. I'm in an environment that I need to earn money. I need to X amount every month. There's no sort of nice, beautiful space there. So what I mean by that is you understand your needs and you're really clear on them and they're your foundations. So you honor, like, okay, I've got to earn this, but what's the different ways that I can earn it? And you follow the breadcrumbs to help you honor that need. And it could be healthcare. It could be finance. It could be just time. There's all sorts of things that people need and they can't mess about with that. It's just some things that they've got to honor. That's what you set that as your sort of North Star, especially in moments of change, and you focus on it. Once you've got that and you think, okay, now I'm fulfilling that, then that creates space for wants and dreams to grow. And, I think that's where we kind of get a little bit confused with, like, we're not talking about, just go and do these things and experiment and what fun. No, you can be really intentional about, I need this. And I'm going to do it with a really open mind of how I'm going to earn the money, how opportunity is going to come my way. I'm going to be brave and ask, like you've just said. That's what we're talking about. I think, again, it's kind of just a little bit different. It's not that we're talking like a privileged sort of go and lie on a beach in Thailand for 3 months and see what comes up. I wouldn't mind that, but that's not what I talk about.
Yeah, that's it's so practical, really, frankly, because you're recognizing the constraints that you have. We all have constraints.
Yeah.
There's always something that's going to be a financial constraint. Maybe it's a time constraint. That's a huge one that we face, because we have families or whatever the case may be. Personal relationship constraint. Like we all have constraints. So it's acknowledging what are my constraints that I have to like work within. And then how can I create a situation that allows me to have both? That is such a beautiful, practical way to like embrace change. So cool.
It's kind of like the important part of the first book was very much about that because I didn't want to trivialize losing your job, despite the title. Why it'll be the best thing that ever happens to you. When people read it, you'll see I'm very, as I've said, practical, northern English person, we don't mess about with this stuff. Like I'm from the north, like what are you actually doing is the question I usually get asked by my family. When are you going to get a real job? That kind of thing.
You know what's so funny about that? Like here in the States, there's the New England area, which is like, it's very similar. Like that's how people think of New England, is like, you're just hardy. You're just very industrious. You do your job, you go to your job, you do your work. Right. And that's so funny that it's like, it's geographically similar, where I wonder if it's like it must be a weather thing.
It's gotta be a weather thing.
It must be like the cold weather just makes people more wired that way. Cause I grew up in Southern California, and it's just a very completely different kind of mindset. Like, oh man, I remember when I moved from Southern California to the East Coast, it was like major culture shock. I was like, oh my gosh, like in California, people are so free thinking, free spirited.
Yeah.
Just open-minded about everything, and nothing's off the table. Opportunity is like, nothing gets you down for long. You always find a way. It's that sunshine. There's something in it. I'm telling you. Something in that sunshine.
Yeah. But isn't it interesting? Like we have to honor that and recognize it in our change environments. I think environment is, again, it is something you can't avoid it. You can't ignore it. Proximity is an important thing. So I think people who have sort of big headlines around like just follow your dreams and all this thing, it's lovely. But there's a lot of practical side, and that's what brings out that side of me, the northern side of me, like, oh, that's all very nice for some people. But I kind of like to feel like I've mapped out the possibility of doing it in a way that still gets you there, but it kind of gives a nod to the realities that, we've this isn't easy stuff. This is quite hard, but it's possible. And that's the most important bit. Start it and you'll discover it's more possible than you thought.
It's more possible than you thought. I love that. Well, I would love to know from you, Eleanor, who is a woman in history who's inspired you, that you've really looked up to? It doesn't have to be someone famous. It could be anyone, whoever comes to your mind.
So I've been listening to your podcast. So who would it be? I really wanted to talk about Madonna quite a lot because I love Madonna.
That's surprising. I would have never expected Madonna. That's cool.
We share a birthday, I think, or maybe she's a day before. We're both August. Absolutely, I've been obsessed with Madonna from day one, completely. Printed off the posters and ripped out posters in magazines and things when I was a teenager. And the reason why I really liked her was she had this sort of thing about she was just going to get on and do her thing despite everything, despite being told, what are you doing? She said, no, she's a disgrace. She's a this. She'd just crack on. Like, who knows what was going on in the background? But from what we saw in those days, obviously there was internet right at that moment in time, she just got on with it. And she went along with, where her energy went. And in interviews now, when she talks about her past and people say about, oh, she's reinventing, she talks about it. She said in one of her podcast interviews, I don't reinvent myself. I just take a layer off. I'm already this person. I just take a layer off and see what it reveals. So it's not that I'm reinventing and becoming a new person. I've always been this person. It's just that there's layers and layers of me that I have yet to discover. And I really like that. I was like, oh, wow. That's kind of, again, different way of thinking about it.
It's so beautiful, too, when we think about like change, too, and who we are, because so much of the time, I think we get so wrapped in our identity of like what we do at work, And so I just love that, like, it's just a layer, right? And we can do so many things. Our identity isn't this job that you have today, Yeah. That's so beautiful. So do you have what's your favorite memory of Madonna? Like when you think about it, like what is your favorite moment that you have in the past or a story or a memory that you have of her? I'm sure you've seen her in concert.
When me and Madonna were hanging out, No, that didn't happen in my
Eleanor
head.
and Madonna, where would you go? If you let's go down that road. If you could go somewhere, if you could be with Madonna, what would that day be like? What would you guys do together?
Yeah, if I could spend a day with Madonna, I'd probably want to be in the video for Music in the Cadillac. I think she's in a Cadillac, I think. And she had this big sort of faux fur coat, and it was kind of Music. And I think Ali G, which was like a UK British comedian, he was
I remember
involved.
him.
I don't know what was going on there. I think he was there. Some other people there. I'd kind of be in there because I just think it was like party. It was a moment in time as well when certainly in the UK, British kind of feel good was going on. Like there was a lot of good music and it felt good. And I was living in London. And so, yeah, from the nostalgic point of view as well. So I would want to go and party in her sort of Cadillac for the Music video.
I love it. Was that from Ray of Light, her album Ray of Light? I think she did that one in like 2000, maybe something like that. I loved that album.
Yeah, that was great.
That was when she was
Frozen
in her yoga.
And, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
she was in her like yoga phase and, Eastern.
It was a bit.
I loved it.
Yeah, it was
that was
amazing.
the yoga layer.
I think Music was the next album, but yes, Frozen was another amazing one, and Ray of Light, and the videos for that was really different. I remember watching MTV, and you always wait for the Madonna video, like what's she gonna come up with? And that album was really great. Like, remember Frozen? She was kind of dressed all in black and talking to a crow or something.
Yeah,
incredible.
I need to go back and watch the music video. Music,
yes,
makes the people.
Yeah, exactly. You see,
that was a good one. Oh, I love that, Madonna. So cool. Well, Eleanor, it's been such a delight having you on the show. Thank you so much. Where can our listeners get in contact with you? And tell us, when is your new book going to be released?
Yes, and I actually didn't answer your question about the book, and I went off about the old book. But yes, the new book is called Another Door Opens, and it's all about a door closing in your life or at work and what happens next, and takes you on that journey. Comes out in September 2025 on pre-order now. Please go and order it. But also my website is the same, another-door-opens.com, and that's where we've got the program, and we do training and podcasts and things. So you can find me there, or on LinkedIn. I'm always posting random stuff about change and life on LinkedIn.
Oh yeah, I love reading your posts. They're so fantastic. You got the Moxie. So my final and last question for you before I let you go is, how do you define Moxie?
I actually had to look Moxie up.
I think it's a U.S. word. Yeah, I've had a couple international guests that are like, I don't even know what this word means.
Yeah, where did you get it from? Because I was curious why obviously looked it up.
Where did I get it? I was just like playing with like one of these AI like word generator tools, honestly. And I wanted something that was like Moxie, right? And the minute it came up, and I had been doing it for a while, the minute it came up, I was like, that's it. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's good. So, I like it when you look, and it actually, you don't have to look it up to get it. So it works. I love it. Yeah. What's the Moxie? I think it's a little bit like what we've talked about. It's find your own path.
Yes.
I think that's what.
I love it. Find your own path. So, and you've certainly done that. So thank you for being such a wonderful guest, Eleanor. It's my pleasure. And I can't wait to see what happens when your book launches and continue to stay connected with you. And until next time, say hello, Moxie. That's a wrap for today's episode of Hello Moxie. I hope you felt that unbreakable thread connecting you to the women of the past, to the trailblazing pioneers of today. Their stories of audacity, resilience, and courage are a powerful reminder of what's possible for you when you choose to live with Moxie.